As a photographer, people are going to tell you you need to niche down in order to be successful. I'm here to say, no, you don't. Let me explain. It's not black and white. There's definitely a gray area, and I'm going to explain that gray area. Niche down, yes and no. You can work in a multitude of genres. Most photographers I know cover a variety of genres: portraits, music, sports, weddings, food, events. If one particular area fancies you or keeps you busy, go for it. It really all depends on what you want to do and what your market is. Keep in mind, those two things may not always align. You may not love working in a certain field, but you're great at it and it pays well. Whereas the field you'd love to be shooting in either doesn't pay well or you're just not good at it yet. Just may not be your strong suit. And that's okay. I think there are both pros and cons to niching down. You can either niche down or you can be fluid in your body of work. You can look at it like jack of all trades or master of none. Pros and cons. Pros, it's easy to focus and it's easier on equipment. You're using the same setup every time, relatively the same setup. Every project is gonna be in that same realm. If you're doing headshots, most likely indoors. I don't really know who's doing headshots. Well, anyway, same lighting setups. Things will change here and there, whether it's 2 lights, 3 lights, underlight, and so on. But you know that you're going to be in a controlled environment. You're going to be indoors. Your tethering setup, your laptop, that setup is going to be easy to focus and straight up. Your portfolio is really going to show that lane in which you do work in. It builds trust with those viewing it. It's going to show your audience, wow, this guy or girl really knows what they're doing in this specific field. People will know you and recognize you for that work. For example, a good friend of mine, Stephen Morgan, is an amazing real estate photographer. Anytime I think of real estate and architecture photography, I immediately think of Stephen. If you're looking at his work, you know exactly what you're gonna get. This guy knows houses, he knows architecture, he knows lighting. In those real estate market, you know what you're gonna get immediately by looking at it. Another pro to niching down is your pricing. Your pricing is gonna be the same because you already have your set packages. If you do headshots, then it's X amount of time or shots the client will get, so on and so forth. Or what you would charge for some 6-hour event is not going to be the same that you would charge for someone's 6-hour wedding. There is definitely different packages and price points in shooting a multitude of genres. Cons to niching down. Burnout of the mundane. It can get a little mundane and repetitive project after project. So I can see the burnout of the repetitiveness. All you shoot is weddings multiple times a month. Eventually you can run into burnout. You can get stuck in a rut, get a little complacent, sick of the rinse and repeat, if you will. Lack of variety. In your portfolio, it may be hard for certain clients to look past exactly what it is you are showing them. If you only have one facet of photography and you're trying to approach something else, or somebody's seeing something and they only see that one thing, it can be hard for people to use their imagination and apply what you are good at to what they are looking for. Another con to niching down, pigeonholing yourself. If you focus on 1 or 2 realms of photography, you only have that to go off of because that's all you've done work in. You're either A, burnt out of that, or the money just isn't there anymore. Let's say the market becomes oversaturated. You want to switch things up. It can be very difficult to crawl out of that hole because you've spent so much time only focusing on this particular thing. It can be very hard for people to think outside the box. Let's take a step back and look at photography as a bubble diagram. What are the main categories and what are the subcategories that fall under those? Studio photography. You're gonna have the equipment, the space, concept, and knowledge of lighting, how to set it up, how to use it, what different things do and don't do. If you are experienced in that realm, you could do a lot of things. You can do headshots, you can do product photography, food photography, interiors, because you'll know how to light the person or light the scene. Action, fast-paced environment, a lot of moving parts, whether it's a schedule of moving parts or a fast-moving object. Main bubble being portraits. Underneath that, you have branding, lifestyle, events, headshots, clothing, you have product. Portraits plus action plus events equals wedding. If you can do those main categories or you're proficient in those three, and that's all a wedding is. Combination of knowing how to take a good photo of somebody, good lighting is on somebody, plus events, moving parts, different types of lighting situation, different types of people, being fluid, gotta be in 3 different places at once. You need to capture that moment because once that moment has happened, it is gone. Music plus events equals nightlife. Know your limits and be realistic with yourself. Just because you take great photos of food and beverage doesn't mean go out, photograph someone's wedding. If you don't have experience shooting someone's wedding, there's a balancing act for sure. On one hand, I'm saying try a variety of things, be fluid in your body of work, but also be realistic with your strengths and weaknesses. If all you do is family sessions, maternity sessions, things of that nature, client hits you up to do some real estate photography for a high-end luxury development and you've never done that, then you probably want to respectfully decline. If you know someone, point them in the better direction. For example, if I got approached to photograph high-end real estate, I've never really shot it. I've done some interiors here and there, but I'm going to recommend Stephen Morgan. Look at his work. He does that. That's all he does. He is phenomenal in that line of work. Could I maybe do it and get some good results? Sure. But certain things, I know where my strengths and weaknesses are. I don't have a ton of experience in that lane, so I'm not gonna try to take on a certain gig just to make some money and potentially drop the ball. Now, if you wanted to venture into real estate photography and you didn't really have any experience in it, then maybe that's when you hit up that friend of yours or that person that you look up to and say, hey, I really want to get into this. I've been really wanting to try out this field. Could I shadow you on something, get my feet wet? Depending on what is going on, they may say, sure, follow along, or they may say, I may not have the ability to do so. You get where I'm going with it. Find that balance between biting off more than you can chew and learning something new. Keep in mind, working in too many genres may be a bit confusing to read. I'll use myself for example. I photograph and video a multitude of genres: music, sports, weddings, food and beverage, film, video. I'm looking for a wedding photographer, and God, this person's website or their Instagram, they have a lot of stuff. I want somebody to show me exactly what I'm looking for. In some cases, that could be a con to certain people when they are going to someone's work and they want a straight up answer. This is what I'm looking for. Does this person do it? I have plenty to show for the different lanes, but if you came across my Instagram, it's a mixture of things. If you came across my website and you didn't want to dig through all the different tabs, I understand it could lose a lot of people that their answer isn't within the first 30 seconds. Another thing to keep in mind when navigating, doing too many things. I'm just trying to give, from my perspective, the pros and cons to niching down and not niching down. I myself have never yearned to niche down because I never wanted to be pigeonholed. I think it also ties into my creative nature. I like doing different things. I like the fact that on one day I'm shooting a hockey game, and the next day I'm photographing someone's wedding from the UK, or I'm shooting film for a hotel. For me, it's always kept me busy, creative, and learning new things and trying new things. What works for me may not work for you. I just wanted to give you my 2 cents on yes, no, be realistic, niche down, Don't niche down. Doesn't really matter. It all depends on you and what you want to do and your market. Las Vegas is a really good city. You can be really diverse, whereas other cities, you may not be able to. I'm starting to ramble. I got to get ready for the shoot. Do what makes you happy. Do what you want. Do what works for you. And if that thing stops working for you, don't be afraid to pivot. Thanks again for watching. Thanks for listening to me ramble. And hopefully you learned something. I appreciate all of you. We will see you in the next one. Cheers, y'all.